One of the essential elements of putting is the pre-putt routine. And what CJ is going to go through right now is an example of a routine. One of the things that's really important about pre-putt is that we don't get too bound up in it having to be exactly the same physical things that you do every single time, because you'll see most good putters, they don't always, every time just take 2 putting strokes or every time look at the hole 3 times. I think sometimes people get too bound up in that. But what we do want is we want to make sure that there is continuity, there is consistency, and ultimately there is a purpose for everything you're doing in your preparation. So CJ will give you an example of one right here. What we really encourage is that you customize a pre-putt routine that works for you. Play around with it a little bit, but then make sure that you get it as consistent as you can so that it's purposeful, that you have a good intention with it, and that it's as consistent as possible.
Okay, exactly. So what I'm trying to do, obviously in my pre-shot routine, is I'm going to stand behind the putt. I'm going to commit to a speed. This goes back to our theory of putting. So again, of the line, the speed, and the brakes. So in this case, I've committed to a speed. I walk up, and I make a rehearsal stroke, and I really wanted you to, if you can elaborate what the difference between a rehearsal stroke is versus, something like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. The reason we use the word or the phrase rehearsal stroke rather than practice stroke, you'll hear most people say practice stroke. Number one, we don't want you practicing out here. We want you rehearsing what you're going to do with the actual putt. The other thing is that we want congruence. We want as much equivalence between what that feels like and what the actual ball strike is like as possible. What you'll see some high handicap or amateur players doing is you'll see for a 30-foot putt, they may just barely be moving their putter, and then they actually step up and their actual ball strike is larger, or the opposite. You'll see people rehearsing a 2-foot putt that looks like this, and then they'll step up and actually tap it. And what they're doing in the pre-putt there really is they're really not approximating the feel that they want to have for striking the ball. So we want congruence, we want equivalence between what it feels like in your rehearsal stroke and then once you step in and actually hit the ball.
All right, this is to win the U.S. Open.
A couple other things I liked about his pre-putt there that I think are essential, and again, for every player, different things work. But a couple pieces there. One, CJ, when he was taking his rehearsal strokes, he was looking at the hole. What that does, in my opinion, is it gets you more target focused, and it's a little bit like in football. The quarterback is not looking at the ball in his hand when he's throwing it down the field. He's looking at the receiver. A baseball shortstop picks up the ball and is looking at the first baseman to throw it. He's not looking at the ball to see how he gets the ball there. Same thing with putting. We want you looking at the target and kind of getting out of the way of being too technical here, being in the target here, and being the athlete that you're training yourself to be, to just get the ball there. So that's one. The other piece that I really liked as well is that CJ's head movements were very slow. What you see with some players is that their head movements get real jerky, and the challenge with that for some players is that if you get kind of twitchy and jerky head movements, it starts to create the potential for kind of twitchy and jerky putter movements, which none of us want. So you'll see the best putters in the game with head movements that are very slow. Their body movements are very still. The head is barely moving back and forth, which kind of slows the whole rhythm and tempo down in their body, which I really believe helps them roll the ball better.